Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Manscaped. Friendly reminder, if you want the best nutsack in the game, head on over to manscaped.com. Use code Raiders to make sure that your perfect package remains looking perfect.
Balls.
All right, man. We're going to do a show today around the top 10 free agents that I want the Raiders to sign. And I don't know if you all heard that. That's Chugs in the background. We're going to play a little bit of a game today. I want you to keep track of how many times you hear Chugs say balls in the background. We're already up to a pair. So we got the top 10 free agent targets for the Silver and Black. With post-June 1st already here, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation around players leaving, around players getting cut. Well, guess what? There's still a lot of really good free agents out there that I believe could really help out this team, and I have them ranked from 10 to 1. Before we get into our list, we need your help. Chat Sports is having a subs battle for the month of June. I mean, we're already at way too many. Let's show everyone that Raider Nation is built different. So if you bleed silver and black, if you're somebody that would enjoy themselves at a Raiders tailgate, hit that subscribe button and let's show Chat Sports and the entire community here that we are the #1 YouTube channel. In terms of some of the more newer subs, I can't even talk, newer subs, Jenny Romero, Rennell's True Peace Fully Madness, FC Gangsta Edix, Gang Money Gorilla Entertainment, that sounds like somebody presented by Manscaped, and then Jim Bonito, thank you very much for subscribing to the Raiders Report. Let's go to number 10 here on my list, presented by Manscaped. It's Cam Dantzler. He was recently just released by the Washington Commanders, and we know that this Raiders team needs somebody on the outside, especially at a corner. I will admit, with the latest reports that Nate Hobbs is going to be that starting outside cornerback, it does make me wonder what type of competition Cameron Dantzler would add, because I am such a big fan of Duke Shelley. But at 6'2", 190 pounds, coming off a little bit of a down year, but when I look at this Raiders defense, to me, he's better than David Long Jr. He would be able to help and compete, and he is a starting level caliber player for the Raiders team. In 2022, 50 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 5 PBUs, 0 interceptions. But in 2021, I thought was arguably his best season. And then when he was first coming out in college, I did like him as an overall prospect. Let's go to number 9 here. It's Trey Flowers, and don't get your dad flowers for Father's Day. Get him some Manscaped stuff. Shout out to Trey Flowers. And the reason why he's on this list, it's not that I think he's that great of a player. I'll be honest, it's not. The reason why he's on this list, it's because Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler have that connection. And anytime you have a player that has previous connections with those two, with this regime, they're going to be on their radar. Is edge a need for this team? Yeah. We'll see how healthy Chandler Jones is. We'll see how healthy, I don't know, Tyree Wilson is. But Flowers is far, far removed from when he was at one time regarded as being one of the better players in the NFL. 51 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles for Flowers. That was back in 2019. A lot of injuries, but there was a reason why he went to the Lions. It was for Matt Patricia. So you tell me right now, which position worries you the most on this Raiders roster? Like, when you think about it from top to bottom, which position is it? For me personally, as it stands right now, probably linebacker. So I want the Raiders. Chuck said quarterback, which, he's probably right in saying that. But linebacker is definitely a position that I'm worried about. Let's go to number 8 here on my list of top free agent targets. It's Duron Harmon. The Raiders went out and they signed Marcus Epps this offseason, and Epps is going to be one of the main people, I guess, on the secondary. Harmon was really good, though, for Patrick Graham. He was a really good player, a really good player leader overall for this roster. And even though he is getting up there in age, and yes, I get it, you have Trevon Merrick, Duron Harmon was a lot better than Merrick last season. So if some of the rumors that I have heard are true around them potentially moving on from Merrick, could you go out and get yourself a Duron Harmon? And some of y'all might say yes, some of y'all might say no, but Duron Harmon does deserve to be on this list of top free agents out there. Now, we still got 7 names to get into, but if you haven't already heard, Manscaped helps out there
balls.
And make sure your balls are looking great with Manscaped, and I really recommend getting your hands on the Lawnmower 4.0. 20% off and free shipping with promo code Raiders. Usually, the Lawnmower 4.0 is $84.99. You can get it for $67.99. And if you're wondering, Mitch, how can I find the link? Don't worry, I got you covered. It's going to be down in the description, down in the comments. It's also there with the pinned comment as well. So if you're the type of person that you're going to shave your downstairs, I recommend using all of Manscaped's products. If you're cutting your balls with a shitty razor, it's because you're not taking care of your perfect package down there. So all I recommend is this. Give it a shot. I think you're going to like a lot of the products that they have. I know she's going to like it too. And with summer literally being here, the perfect gift that you can give is to make sure that your balls do not stink. So these are the perfect gifts for Father's Day. I think it's a perfect gift for you if you're like, you know what, I'm not going to buy my dad, because my dad always jokes around with me. He's like, I think it's weird that you buy me ball toner and ball deodorant. Well, guess what? I just want to make sure that you have something. That way you can be a happy old man, right? So the perfect package, $110. You can get it at $87.99. Manscaped.com. Make sure you use promo code Raiders. Let's go to number 7 here on my list for top free agent targets for the Silver and Black after June 1st. Marcus Peters. If the Raiders want to go out and add another outside corner, I do believe that it's more than likely going to be Peters and not Cam Dantzler. Why do I say that? Well, they've already brought Peters in for a visit. Now, some of you are like, well, he came in for a visit, he left, they didn't sign. Why would the Raiders want him? They want him because Peters wants to be a Raider. It's just going to come down to money. Because when you hear the name Marcus Peters, a lot of people think, all right, it's going to be a lot of money. But he is coming off the worst season that he had as a professional. 64.3% completion percentage, 711 yards, the 7 touchdowns, the quarterback rating of 113.7. All of those reasons is why you could look at Marcus Peters.
Totally balls.
Let's go to the next name here on our top free agent target list. It's Matt Ioannidis. And when I think about one of the biggest needs for the Raiders this offseason, it was defensive tackle. They went out, they got 2 defensive tackles in the draft. They signed a few players as well. They brought back Jerry Tillery. But I have to do this show, and I got to be honest with you. It's still a weak defensive tackle room. It's not a top 15 unit. And at any point, you are a below average unit. If you have the ability to make an improvement, you go out and you do it. He did only have 1 sack last season. He was an impact player, 34 quarterback pressures, and he continues to show me that he could be a better player on the interior here for the Raiders. In 2021, he had 38 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. 2020, he had a half a sack. Like, he's not the type of DT that you're going to bring in for sacks. But if you need an extra player on the interior, he's going to help you out there. Let's go to number 5 here on my list. It's Anthony Barr. And I mentioned that linebacker is a big-time need for this Silver and Black roster. Barr's going to be able to help you do that. He is getting up there in age. His best years are much, much more behind him. He'd be the best linebacker on this Raiders team right now. He's better than Robert Spillane. He's better than Divine Diablo. Is there more upside in Spillane and Diablo? Yes, there's more upside in both of those players. But guess what? A lot of question marks with this Raiders linebacker room. And if I said that the Raiders DT room is below average, the Raiders linebacker room, I'd probably say right now is the worst in the National Football League. Bottom 5, no doubt about it. So you add Barr, who has some of that past playing experience. He knows a few of the past Raiders coaches as well on top of all of that. And if you could just add a little bit more depth with a veteran, I don't think it would hurt a very young Raiders linebacker room. We got 4 more names here for Raiders targets in free agency. We got a hot wing contest, though. Barcode Burgers presents Me Against Jermaine Illuminor. June 10th, it's a Saturday in Las Vegas from noon to 3 p.m. All the proceeds that we get will go to charity. It's going to be a hell of a time. I hope to see you there. Number 4 on my top free agent targets list for the Silver and Black.
Balls.
John Johnson at safety. The Raiders have shown interest in Johnson before. They have shown interest in him this offseason, and he would play free safety. In terms of coverage ability, He's a better coverage safety than Trevon Merrick, and I don't know if it's all that close. I mention a lot about Merrick because he was a player that I was so excited about when the Raiders drafted him, but he has yet to live up to it. I want to give him an extra year, give him that extra season in the Patrick Graham defense, but what happens if this coaching staff doesn't want to? If they're not sold on Merrick, they could go out and look at John Johnson, who would no doubt help out this Raiders defense. Whether you like to hear that or not, you can put John Johnson at free safety, Marcus Epps at strong safety, and the Raiders have been looking for a long time for this hybrid safety linebacker. Just put Merrick in the box and let him work. Number 3 here, coming up on today's show, presented by Manscaped, Rashaan Evans. Another player that's got some past connections with this Raiders coaching staff. Evans, 6'2", 232-pounder, had 159 tackles last season. When you talk about need, it's a check mark. When you talk about past connections with other Raiders coaches, it's a check mark. In 2021, he played in only 12 games, 57 tackles. In 2020, 96 tackles. In 2019, 111 tackles. If you can only go out and sign one free agent this entire period, I might make the argument for Evans, mainly because of the price. Like, Evans is not going to cost all that much. He's a linebacker. He's getting up there in age. And for all of those reasons, the silver and black team's not going to have to break the bank on an aging Rashaan Evans. So if you're looking for a really good bang for your buck, that's your guy. Let's go to number 2 here on my list. It's Leonard Floyd, edge rusher. And he's done a good job filling up the stat sheet. I will admit, coming off a little bit of a down year for what we have seen in past seasons. Now, you're going to look at 9 sacks. Sounds weird. And you're going to be like, wow, that's pretty
Balls.
good. Yeah, that's a good one to do it there, too. You're going to look at 9 sacks. Like, all right, he didn't have a bad year at all. He did. He struggled a little bit more in coverage compared to some other seasons. On top of that, when Leonard Floyd was with the Chicago Bears, guess who was there? Champ Kelly. Guess what he was doing? He was a scout in college. He was one of the reasons why the Bears went and they got Leonard Floyd. So there's your personnel connection. Does he fit a need? Yes. 9+ sacks in 3 straight seasons. Offers you versatility. I will admit he's probably a little bit more built to be a 3-4 outside edge, but this Raiders team needs playmakers. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And then coming in here at number 1 for the Raiders' top free agent targets, I can't even believe that this name is still out there, and I can't even believe that the Raiders haven't gone and brought in
Balls.
Kyle Van Noy. Kyle Van Noy has played with the New England Patriots. He played with Brian Flores down in Miami. There's a lot of connections there. He was with the Los Angeles Chargers last season. But his ability to play defensive end, his ability to play a run-stopping linebacker, his ability to drop back into coverage, it's the key word that we always talk about. Maybe we should call him Kyle Versatility Noy. According to PFF last season, a 624 snaps, 63.4 overall grade, a run defense grade of 62.3, and then coverage grade of 60.6. Kyle Van Noy is number 1 on this list because he's still a good defensive player. He's played in the AFC West. He has the connections with Ziegler and McDaniels, and overall would really help out this defense. So Kyle Van Noy is number 1 on my list. Who is the number 1 free agent that the Raiders should sign? I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. I'm going to be looking down in the comments. Now, before I head on out of here, if you want more videos from the Raiders Report, always remember we put out tons and tons of content. This video, Garoppolo replacements in case the Raiders actually cut him, which if you think that sounds crazy, watch the video. Link's going to be available for y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. And a huge shout out for everyone tuning in today. Now, one more thing before I go. Take a screenshot here. Appreciate Manscaped for sponsoring our Raiders top free agent targets. If you were sleeping, I don't know how that's possible with all those balls in your ears.
Balls.
Number 10 is Cam Dantzler. Number 9 is Trey Flowers.
Balls.
You guys can read, I believe, and to take a screenshot, post that on Twitter, post that on Instagram. I would greatly appreciate it.
Balls.
So here's the main question of today's show. How many times did Chugs say balls? I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to it. We're going to have a special shout out on the Raiders Report for our Tuesday live show. Remember, we go live every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific, to the person and the very first comment that gets the answer correct for how many times Jeremy Chugg said
Balls.